Skip ahead to 5th period, which is Family Consumer Science. Family Consumer Science, also known as FCS, is where we learn to cook and sew. The lights flickered again in this class. The lights flickered again, causing them to shut off. I looked away from the door this time, not wanting to see it, which meant I was looking outside and through the window. But this time, I was even more scared when I saw it. He stood there staring at me. He knocked on the window. Everyone looked to the window and screamed. Everyone, including the teacher, ran for the door. He pounded on the glass, this time even harder. He did this 3 more times. The glass shattered with the 5th hit. Someone threw open the door and ran out. Then everyone else except me ran. I looked at him and yelled, "What do you want?" He pointed to my pocket. Wait, no. He was pointing at me. I gave him a questioning look. He pulled out 2 machetes, one bloody, the other clean and shiny. He then charged at me. I ran toward the kitchen and locked the door. I turned the stove on and let it heat up. I grabbed a giant knife and put the blade in the fire. It became orange from the heat. I heard the sound of the door breaking, so I crouched down. I heard his heavy footstep get closer and closer to me. I decided if I could distract him, I could try to get out. I grabbed a towel and put it in the fire. I grabbed it and then threw it at the clown. It landed on his left shoulder. He let out a loud howl as it burned his skin. He picked it up with his hand and threw it. The flaming cloth landed on a gas line. I heard a quiet hiss as it landed. I ran out the room, running within arm's reach of the clown. I ran into the hallway and to the stairwell. I got under the stairs just as I heard a huge boom. I heard things fly onto the stairs and heard things go flying past me on the floor as they came to a skidding halt. I heard things catch on fire and the smoke choked me. I thought to myself, I need to get everyone out of this school before another explosion happens. I got up, spun around, and ran upstairs. I ran at the first classroom that happened to be a 6th grade room. As I peered through the window, I felt sick to my stomach. The floor was gone. The wall that was part of the front was gone. I didn't want to look in the hole, but I couldn't stop myself. I ran out of there. It was so bad. The bodies were burned and some were covered in blood and burnt flesh. I ran down the hallway only to hear another boom. It knocked me off balance. I flew to the ground. I could taste blood in my mouth. I looked up to see another explosion on the other side of the school. I ran down the hallway to see the class evacuated early. But there was one that had something in front of the door. It was part of the ceiling. I threw it aside and opened the door. I went to walk in, but the teacher yelled at me to stay out. The floor was too weak to hold a lot of people. Everyone ran out, and I noticed Emma was in the class. When everyone got out, we started to run to the end of the hallway. I heard a loud cracking sound coming from behind us. There was a large crashing sound that erupted through the hall as a huge part of the floor fell. I spun around to see small pieces falling. I looked down to see a giant inferno. Everyone that had fallen had either died from the fall or was burning to death. I figured I couldn't help them in any way. Then I heard a crumbling sound from next to me. I looked over to see the part of the floor that Emma was standing on was about to fall. I shoved her into a locker as the chunk flew to the ground. She looked at me with amazement. We started sprinting for the stairwell. The fire roared. I could almost not hear giant footsteps behind me, but I still could. Something came from behind me and pulled me just before I could make it outside. It was the clown. The mask was so burnt right now I could actually see half of his face. I recognized the face. It was Luke. I couldn't believe my eyes. I pulled myself away, or I attempted to at least. Instead, he pulled me into the flaming school by the shirt. Emma ran after, screaming to let me go. He pushed her aside and continued further into the school. He walked up the stairs and over to the blazing hole. I asked him why he was doing this. He said if I would have been a parent, I would understand how hard it is to lose a kid. Just then, something came running up behind us and jumped on Luke. He screamed as the figure drove something sharp into his neck. It was scissors. The figure then leapt off, walked over, and gave me a kiss. It was Emma. She saved me, just like I had saved her. The next part played out as if it were in slow motion. Luke spun around and swung his arm into Emma, knocking her off the edge of the floor. She went soaring into the fire. I heard her scream as she touched the flames. I screamed. Luke looked down at what he had just done. I snuck behind him and pushed. He spun around to face me. I pushed him again, this time with all my might. He reached out with both hands as he fell backward. He grabbed me by the collar of the shirt and pulled me with him. We flew towards the fire. We pushed off, and he wasn't hanging on anymore. I looked up and saw him grabbing onto a rod that was sticking out from where the floor was. He smiled as I flew into the fire. I felt my clothes catch on fire. I felt my flesh burn. I scanned the area to see Luke wasn't hanging anymore. I looked up to see him standing on the second floor, smiling down at me. He turned and walked away with a look of triumph on his face. There was then a deafening boom. I looked up to see a part of the ceiling falling towards me. I saw it catch on rubble inches from my face. The heat was really intense now. My vision started to fade. Then all I saw was black. I couldn't breathe or move anymore. I felt my body slowly start to give up. As I gave my last breath, the piece of ceiling crushed my limp body.